Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of This Old Deck. So, the particular deck from this book that I'm going to be looking at is in a section which is just headed up Mirage Block, because it's exactly that. All of the decks in that section of this book are created from cards that were released from sets in the Mirage block. And we'll have a look at the deck in question. It's called Griffin Mill. But before I do that, I wanted to take a bit of a side track and talk a little bit about some pre-con aspects of the Mirage block, because, and I don't know how many people know this, I have mentioned it on the channel before, but pre-cons, or specifically theme decks, started in Tempest, which is the next block on from Mirage. And Mirage is considered to be like the first properly designed block, because before that everything was sort of retrofitted and just, thrown together in some ways, because you had Ice Age block, which had Ice Age Homelands and Alliances, something like that. Very strangely put together, not really designed as a whole block. Whereas Mirage, we have a sort of coherent, set of coherent block with three sets in it. Now, it's often considered that things really didn't get properly going, I suppose, until the next set, which was Tempest, but certainly Mirage is the first set of Magic the Gathering sets where it's designed specifically as a block thing with a theme. But as I've said, there weren't any pre-cons at that point because they didn't come in until Tempest. But what they did is, when they released Mirage retrospectively on Magic the Gathering Online, because when Magic the Gathering Online started, we were already quite far into paper Magic. So what they started doing with MTGO is they started sort of backfilling sets, but they only went back as far as Mirage block. Everything else was filled in by releasing master sets online. And so they were able to sort of gather together all of the sets pre-Mirage block, and put them together in these sort of, they weren't really like a remastered set because they were all over the map, but the idea was they at least brought them together in a set that could be drafted. But when they went back to do Mirage, what they decided was they were actually going to release some theme decks specifically designed for the sets, but after the fact, because we're talking about 10 years after the set was originally released. So what you have, if you look on MTG Wiki, is these three sets of 4 decks: Burning Sky, Jungle Jam, Night Terrors, Ride Like the Wind from Mirage, Visions, Legion of Glory, Savage Stomp Down, Unnatural Forces, Wild-Eyed Frenzy, and then Weatherlight decks, Air Forces, Dead and Alive, Fiery Fury, and Gate Crash. And you can see they even went to the point of when they released them online, they actually sort of they released them. They had some actual deck box art, even though these haven't existed in paper. Now, one thing I did, if you remember, is, and I'm trying to think what block it was for, but was it Ride Like the Wind? Yeah, I actually created this in paper, this particular one, from what I remember, because this has got Telim Jaw in it, and Sidar Jabbar. This is a flanking deck, isn't it? I think, yeah. But yeah, I actually put that together in paper for a video I did way back when I spoke a bit about these particular decks. But the reason why I bring this up is if you look at the decks that were made retrospectively, and these decks were done way after the book that we're looking at. So, you know, this thing came out, what, 97, I think? Yeah. And these decks were released in 2005. What you might notice is probably Jungle Jam is the closest to a Griffin deck. And if you look at Griffins, what's interesting about them is a lot of them have really interesting abilities on them. Like, you know, these sort of support abilities. So, the Griffin Mill as it appears in the book, under the Mirage block, is a mono white deck. Now, I don't think, just going back to where we were, there are any decks here. So Legion of Glory is mono white, but I've got a sneaking suspicion it's more of a scout, soldier, like, sort of, is that some sort of white weenie deck? Yeah. Well, it's like a mono white soldiers, I suppose. So let's have a look at this Griffin Mill deck, and then we'll look at some Griffins in Magic the Gathering, and then we'll look at Griffins within EDH Rec. I think that's an interesting place to go. So we have a lot of creatures in this deck. We have 23 creatures, of which all of them are Griffins. There is a sideboard in here as well, which has either extra copies of Griffins that we have in here, or does it have additional Griffins as well that it's been sideboarded? Maybe they're just extra copies of everything, but we'll have a look through in a moment. So 3 Dejari Griffins, 2/2 for 4 with flying, and you can sack it to destroy a target black creature. 3 Akundu Griffins, 2/2 for 4. You might see a pattern here with flying and first strike. Mist Moon Griffin, 2/2 for 4 with flying, and if it's put into any graveyard from play, remove it from the game, then put the top creature card from your graveyard into play. Another 2/2 for 4. You can see that they're all 3 and a white except for this one. Tender Griffin, flying, white tap, return Tender Griffin to owner's hand, and return target Griffin card in your graveyard to your hand. Use this ability only during your upkeep. Teremko Griffin has banding and flying. It's 2/2 for 4. and there's 3 of those. And 3 Anyaro Griffins. You guessed it, 2/2 for 4 with flying. Sacrifice it, counter target red spell that assigns damage to you or a creature you control. Play this ability as an interrupt. And then we actually have 4 copies of Zubiri Griffin. So 4 and a white, flying, counts as a Griffin. Because back then, if it was a legend, there wasn't enough room to put Griffin on there as well. So I had to put it in the rules text. All of the Griffins get +1/+1. However, of course, you can't have 2 in play because of the legend rule. Back then, the legend rule was slightly different than it is now. But certainly, at the very least, you couldn't have 2 in play on your side of the board. In fact, then I suppose you couldn't have 2 in play on any side of the board. But I have trouble remembering the precise legend rule from back then, because I think it was changed in between as well, and was slightly different in terms of what happened if you played a second legend, and what happened to the first one or the second one. Anyway, can't be having multiple copies of those on the battlefield. Back then. 4 Jabiri's Banner. 2 to cast, 1 tap, target creature gains flanking until end of turn, so whenever a creature without flanking is assigned to block this creature, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. 3 Marble Diamonds, 2 to cast, comes into play tapped, you can tap it for white mana. 3 Ward of Lights, you may choose to play Ward of Lights as an instant. If you do, bury it at end of turn, so these enchantments, I think they were called. Enchanted creature gains protection from colour of your choice. The protection granted by Wards of Light does not bury the protection granted by Ward of Light does not bury Ward of Lights. 3 Disenchants. Destroy target artifact or enchantment that's been mainboarded. 4 Griffin Canyons. Tap, add 1 colourless mana to mana pool. Tap, untap target Griffin. That Griffin gains +1/+1 until end of turn. 20 Plains. In the sideboard there's another disenchant. There's a Parapet, which isn't in the main board. You may choose to play Parapet as an instant, but it is another enchantment. If you do, bury it at the end of turn. All creatures you control get +0/+1. Imperial Armour. 2 and 2 white, enchanted creature gets +X/+X, where X is a number equal to the number of cards in your hand. 4 Years, 2 and a white, target creature defending player controls gets +3/+0 until end of turn. That creature may be assigned to block up to 3 creatures this turn. All blocks must be legal. And then we've got a single Dajara Griffin, which is also in the main board, so an extra copy of that. Ikundo, I think everywhere we've got a 3, there's an extra copy if we wanted to. Sideboarded in Miss Moon, Terumko and Yarrow. There we go. So, bit of a weird curve. Yeah, because we've got all of these are 4 drops. And there's no 1 drop. There's 7, 8, 10. So yeah, so it's actually there's a 5 drop there. So it's all 2 drops, 4 drops, and 5 drops. So yeah, but not a great curve. I suppose the object of the exercise is to try and get these out and get you a bit of a better mana source so you can start casting your Griffins. But yeah, no 1 drops, and the only 3 drops are in the sideboard. But it's an interesting concept because all of these have some form of either, well, at the very least they've got flying, but then some have sort of interesting additional abilities. And like I said, probably this is the closest, maybe. What is it? It's a green-white deck. It's got Atogs as well in it. It's good because you'll sort of benefit from mana fixing from the Creon Elves. There's red in there as well, of course. Yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. That's 3 colour deck then. That's rampant growth. So yeah, you bring in green and that affords you ramp. It's almost this is sort of really Just trying to think what all this really benefits from. I mean, it's almost like we're missing some, real sort of white control, or control elements of some description. I'm not too sure what you could substitute in this particular block. What's in the Legion of Glory? I wonder if you could put in some sort of ground troops, maybe, to help. Strike. Yeah. In fact, I wonder whether it would be better. This would be better as like a red-white deck with some burn. Anyway, I digress. So let's just look at a little bit of the history of Griffins here. So we've got 54 Griffins in Magic, and you can see there were quite a number, and you can see, I think, is it pretty much all of them are actually in the deck that are available. Yeah, so all of the Griffins from the block, is that right? Yeah, including Zabiri. Then we get Portal Armoured Griffin with flying and attacking, so it doesn't cause Armoured Griffin to tap, so what's that? Vigilance. And then Wild Griffin, which is 2/2 for 3 with just flying. We have Tethered Griffin, single white, 2/3, flying when you control no enchantments, sacrifice Tethered Griffin. So that was in Urza's Destiny. Then we've got Mercadian Masks, Charmed Griffin. As it comes into play, each other player may put an artifact or enchantment card into play from his or her hand. Diving Griffin, it's got Vigilance. It's a 3-drop. Razorfoot Griffin, which is 4-drop, flying and first strike. Is that similar to... Yeah. I can do Griffin, okay. Aurora Griffin, target opponent becomes white until end of turn. So then, after a slew of white Griffins, we do get a blue one in Odyssey. So 3 and 2 blue, 3/2 with flying, and 1 on a blue, discard a card from your hand, return Flourishing Griffin to its owner's hand. Then, after Odyssey, we're into Ravnica, where we get 2 more mono white Griffins, and then Screeching Griffin, which is white with a red activation cost. White blue, which has flying protection from enchantments. So it's white and a blue for a 2/2. There. Boreal Griffin, which is from Cold Snap. So 3 and 2 white. Retaliator Griffin, red, green, white, from Alara Reborn. There's one in M10, there's one in Zendikar, Rise of the Eldrazi. As you can see, there's a lot of like one-off Griffins here and there. So Assault Griffin in M11, Peregrine Griffin in M12, Abbey Griffin in Innistrad. Although, as you can see, I think it's another yeah. So these, flying Vigilance Griffins that we've seen. Silverclaw Griffin with flying and first strike. 5 for a 3/2. Another blue one, Mist Hollow Griffin, is actually... What's that? That's a mythic rare. Okay, so we have a mythic rare, 2/2 blue, 3/3 with flying, and you may cast Mist Hollow Griffin from exile. Griffin Protector from M13. Sunspire Griffin. Charging Griffin. Decorated Griffin. Cetesian Griffin. So we've now got some Griffins in. This is Theros. So mono white 1, white green, so white with green activation cost. And then this one, which is a white black Griffin skeleton with flying and vigilance, and white black, pay 3 life, regenerates Sentry of the Underworld. Griffin Dreamfinder, Courier Griffin, so that's from Born of the Gods, that one's from Battle for Zendikar. Resplendent Griffin, white blue from Rivals of Ixalan, has a send on it. Then we've got one from Battle Bond, one from M19, Ravnica Allegiance has one, Roar the Spark has one, M20, and so you can see, again, generally we're getting like one-offs, and then suddenly we'll get like a group, so we've got some here from Throne of Eldraine. So a white one, a blue one, another white one, Theros Beyond Death, M21, Zendikar Rising, Fearless Fledgling, which has landfall, Blade Griff Prototype, Zerum Golden Wind, which is only, one of 2 legendary creature Griffins. So 3 and a white, 3/4 flying. Whenever a Griffin you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 2/2 white Griffin creature token with flying. Dutiful Griffin, which would be from Wilds of Eldraine. And then Outlaws of Thunder Junction had Wanton Griffin, which will, so when it dies, create 1/1 red mercenary creature token with tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn, activate only as a sorcery. So you can see, predominantly Griffins in white. We've only got 2 legendaries, I think, that are Griffins. Let's just check that. Yeah. So, what's sort of open to us in EDH if we want to play Griffins? Well, this one definitely sprung to mind. So I was already aware of Zubiri, and actually at one point I had a version of Zubiri on, I think, MTGO. I've never really got around to building this in paper, I don't think. So yeah, you can build an interesting Griffin deck. So nice low budget one. They're not going to be super expensive. Even Zubiri is only $249, and just load it up with Griffins, of which there are many. And as you can see here, so yeah, more decks are leveraging this. Whenever a Griffin you control deals combat damage to player, created. So that's spitting out white Griffin tokens. So I wonder if, Zubiri gets in here anyway because of the synergies with other Griffins. But if you want to go all colour Griffin, then yeah, Morophon's a possibility. Somewhere down here we might find Griffins on the list. It might be quite low down. Birds. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, there we go. 6 Griffin decks. Senate Griffin. Did that not come up? Has that been interesting? I didn't see that. Did Did I inadvertently skip over it, perhaps? It's possible. Oh no, there it is. Oh no, it was there. Okay. Yeah. Game changes. Funny what lines it's putting in it. I imagine there must be the yeah, because you got to work around 5 colours. What else do they suggest? So I suppose, yeah, you can. Yeah, now we're getting pretty slim pickings now, really. So, yeah, this is the most popular. Then this, then yeah, you're getting below, sort of down to 3. I don't even know if is that even there, even though it's yeah. White blue Griffins. Of course, the other thing you can do with these is obviously if you wanted to, you could stick in certain shape shifters. And as we saw earlier, I wasn't thinking because I'd already got this, so yeah, we've got this, and as our commander, Griffin's budget, average deck, and you get quite nice average deck there. Let's just have a look. Don't know if this is going to price us up or not. Yep, so pretty cheap deck to build by all accounts. We could load this up into Architect, there we go. Now, with these, it's interesting because I was wondering with the theme decks, it doesn't seem to be any sort of information behind these, but I thought yeah, the trouble is so much of this has been taken down now. I'm just going to see if there's any, because somewhere I did see a description of actually who created these at the time. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, the Wayback Machine does still have it. Okay. So it goes through and like tells you, you know, who created. So this one was, so Burning Sky was done through that. So the was the closest. So this was created by a tournament winner. So yeah, all of these have slightly different stories. Now what I haven't done, I didn't really properly do, is like go through the Mirage Block decks in the book and see if there's any direct matchups. I don't think there is. Several of them were sort of around cards at the time. So like there was a Bazaar of Wonders deck in the book, and a Cadaverous Doom deck, which I played around with was it Prosperous Bloom? Oh, sorry, yeah, Cadaverous Bloom. Card Burner. What was that? I'm just seeing if there's any with similar-ish names. Mirage. Theme decks, right. Okay. Precons, right, there we go. Legion of Glory, Unnatural Forces, Fiery Fury, there was a... It was blue-green. Black-red. Most of the... Flanker, Phaser, Griffin, Mill and Weenie Burn, which was a mono red deck. So the mono red deck is Wild Eyed Frenzy, which is a goblin deck. Did have Goblin Soothsayer in it. What about Blood Rock? Yeah, no, they're quite different. Yeah, there's nothing really close in these. Anyway, but yeah, interesting set of decks, and yeah, if you obviously the upshot of this is if you want to build a Griffin EDH deck, it's pretty cheap to do. Although I'm sure there's much more powerful creature types you can build around. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.